A little hiccup, so trying to locate my file in the pen drive was a little bit, um, you know, uh, so we finally got it anyway. I am Navanitam, I am from Chennai. Uh, we are trying to do something about rare diseases by getting into rural areas. We talked about a lot of technologies this morning in the previous talks. Everything is ready. It has to go to the place where it's supposed to go. That's the point. There are a lot of people who really need that technology for them to locate their disease, locate the patients and unearth what they have. So I'm going to show how the situation is currently in rural India, and from there we'll go. This introduction was given already. There are several thousand rare diseases. People say 7,000. It can be much more than that. And the total population is, rare disease affected population is between 6 and 8%. That we don't know, but that is widely accepted by experts and researchers. So let us keep those two things as standard as of now. 7,000 rare diseases and 6 to 8% of total population that is afflicted with rare diseases. Okay, and many of those diseases don't have drugs at all. That's what we heard this morning. And by WHO definition, 1 or less than 1 in 1,000 population is considered to be a rare disease. A disease that is representing 1 or less than 1 patient per 1,000 population is considered to be a rare disease. And there are few diseases that are really rare, very, very rare. They are called ultra rare diseases. That is defined as less than 2 patients per 1 lakh or 100,000 population. Okay, let us get into the little bit of statistics. This is the population census data of 2011 by Government of India, Census India, right? So we have about 69, that is about 70% of the Indian population that is living in rural part of India. So in the breakup on the right-hand side panel I have shown you, there are few states, majority of them are in rural area. This is not a curse. I don't blame that they are still, I don't say that they are still in rural area. It doesn't mean that I encourage them to come to the city to work for something, to look for something. But the vast majority of the people in several states in India are living in rural side. This is a true Census India data, right? As an average, India as a whole, we have 70% of the population that is living in rural side, right? Let me put this number in perspective, from the rare diseases perspective. We know that, right, we have some kind of ballpark estimate over 7,000 rare diseases, and 6 to 8% of total population is afflicted with rare diseases. And from that vantage point, looking at the Indian rural population, so we have about 72 million possible rare disease people in India. 72 million. This is based on 2011 census data. We are almost finishing that decade. We are getting into the next one. So the number is going to swell anyway when we get the real account. And of that, if you consider that 70% of Indian population is living in rural side, so appropriately one can expect that 50 million rare disease population living in rural side. That is a bit disturbing. Because, okay, here is 420 million whole world and 72 million in Indian scenario, and of that in the previous one I showed you, 50 million of them are still living in rural area with rare disease afflicted situation. And here, hold on, I narrowed down the statistics down to the small village level. This is a case study I am showing you here. So go down further at the state level, Tamil Nadu, and a district, and a taluk, and a small village, a population of about 2,600, 2,600 population. So one can theoretically expect about 160 people with one or other kind of rare disease or disorders. there are two terms here, diseases and disorders. Disease is basically defined as a full-blown disease. Disorders are the one that are not a full-blown disease, but it can be one or other way, there is a problem with that person. So you may have seen people without earlobe, you can see people with 6 fingers or something. Those are all grouped into the disorders. So put diseases and disorders. So one can expect, right, these many people, that 160 people living in that particular village. And that village is composed of several hamlets. And that village is here, located in southern part of Tamil Nadu in Tanjavur district. Coastal, it's not closer to coastal, but it's a kind of coastal town, small village you can say. So we are going to look at that particular village, how it looks like. So this is the map of that village. And those that are encircled, I put a little dotted line. Those are the different hamlets within that village, the Monangadu village in Tanjavur district. There are at least 8 or 9 hamlets in it. There is no direct matrimonial connection between these hamlets actually, even though people are living together. So these are all, you know what I mean. Those are all domain with set of people with their own cultural affiliations. And of that, top right side, you see there are 3 square or rectangles I show you. And that is the area I concentrated in basically. I could not complete the study in that particular village in the entire area, only a small part of it, okay? And we, with the help of local school students, we zeroed in on few patients and listed them together, and these are the select people from that group. They have one or other, some of them are diagnosed, conclusively diagnosed. For example, in the top middle, the girl with the corpus callosum dysgenesis, she was diagnosed when she was 3 years old, and now she is 18 years old. Their parents keep the record, and this cannot be corrected at all. There is no medicine, nothing can be done. She has to live with that. Earlier we heard about in terms of drugs, diagnosis, and all those. Drugs and diagnosis, before drugs and diagnosis comes basically a screening. Morning I was talking to, I think, Dr. Ratna, I guess. So we have to go from there. So we have to first screen, though Dr. Srikanth spoke about, prenatal screening. Those are the things that's going to become handy when the technology reaches the rural side. So if she was identified to have this particular situation before 3 months or 4 months, things could have been managed differently. Now we have brought a child into the world, and now she's an adult person, right? And we have to let her go through all this for the rest of her life. That is the sticky situation. And this is the one that conclusively diagnosed. There are few other things that you see in the slides. Top right, it was not diagnosed at all. Top left, no. And in that family, there are 3 kids. The middle one who is standing there is doing okay. But the brothers and sister, and the younger sister and the elder brother, they have something that is not diagnosed. They had something, they had some hospital report, test report that was lost during the transit, when they were going to city and coming back, they lost it. So in many cases, they even though they had something in their hand to show that it was, being studied at clinical level, but they don't have any report in their hands. And the bottom left is the one called Noonan's disease. That student is doing fine as of now, even though his appearance is different. He's intellectually competent. He's doing his post-graduation in agricultural studies in one of the universities in Tamil Nadu. Right? The boy who is sitting in the wheelchair in the bottom of the lower panel, he had multiple disorders put together actually. One of them is he was born with, he is born with a enlarged head, and there is a condition called spina bifida. So the open, vertebral column when he was born. So when the surgeons were trying to fix it, the surgery was botched up. So he lost his legs. He lost his capacity to walk. Okay. The bottom right patient is considered to be Williams, possible Williams syndrome patient, considering he was not diagnosed, but there are few clinically identifiable features that I seen in him, so I suspect that he is likely to have this. He is very keen in music. So whenever there is a village rural marriage function or something, or some festival, there is a music, you can see him there listening to music and dancing actually. There are few other characteristics, including the facial characteristics, that pinpoints him somewhere closer to this Williams.
If you can summarize.
Oh yeah, I'm almost done. Okay, let us little bit rush up. Okay, in terms of consanguinity, the one that you had seen in the previous slide, the top left, there are 3 kids in it, and there is involvement of consanguinity. But unfortunately, in my study, I did not see consanguinity everywhere. There are, even though I had seen about 40 patients in that village, there are only 2 situations consanguinity. That's a blood relatives marrying together. So here, the girl marries a maternal uncle, and there are 2 children who are with undiagnosed condition. And this is, those are those 3 kids. Okay, so let me quickly go through the points, the problem that patients face. Many rural rare disease stricken patients do not go beyond the small private clinics, and periodic patient visits are to treat serious symptoms of their underlying rare disease only, just to treat the symptoms, not the disease as a whole. When symptoms persist, patients usually do not follow up with the same doctor. Often he or she switches the doctor instead. So there is no record left anywhere. Exorbitant upfront payment, that's another problem. And patients don't have knowledge of their own diagnosis. There are even people who have diagnosed about their disease, if you talk to them, they have no clue what they have actually, right? And some of the reports, some patients I had seen, they are completely lost. Because prolonged storage, sun, and sometimes even I saw a bag that is poured with rainwater, and they didn't notice it, so completely scanned reports are gone. And let me, okay.
Maybe we're out of time.
Yeah, okay. Okay, clinicians, okay, let me as well. Let me summarize it. Majority of the rare disease patients likely reside in rural India, as I had shown the numbers earlier. It is up to the patients to get their rare diseases diagnosed. Many in rural India are just resigned to their fate.